Sometimes you have to get to a space where you thank God for what He did not allow to happen. Although you interceded, you petitioned Him, you prayed for this thing to come to pass, you prayed for God to open communication between you and your spouse, you're in divine separation, you prayed for God to bring them back home, you prayed for God to bring forth restoration possibly before the Lord's timing. Sometimes you got to get to a space where you thank God for what He did not allow to happen. The enemy has always been invested in you seeing things improperly, you seeing things through a false lens, you mislabeling your season. For some of you, your spouses were bleeding and you could not handle them bleeding on you. You were not spiritually equipped or prepared. You were not emotionally ready. You were not spiritually ready. You were not mentally ready for the baggage that came with them, for the trauma that came with them. Thank you, Holy Spirit, even for the demons that came with them. Thank you, Holy Spirit, for the generational curses that came with them. Like you were not ready to handle that. So God saw fit as being a loving father to protect you from even the very thing that you were praying for. It's not that God wasn't going to allow you to have it. It's not that there wouldn't come a time where the Lord saw fit that you were ready to handle whatever they were going through. And remember, I did the message talking about restoration was going to be for two different groups of people. I'm speaking about that group with the messy situation. I'm speaking about Jesus picking up the dirt and spitting in it and touching the eyes. I'm speaking about Lazarus was resurrected, but he was still bound, and Jesus said, loose him. That group. With that being said, some of you, even when the Lord brings them back, if you were in bedroom meetings, you know what I'm talking about. But even when the Lord brings them back, some of you, remember when I said your spouses won't be fully healed yet, won't be fully whole yet. And you have the responsibility and the assignment. The reason the Lord is seeing fit to do so because you're spiritually ready to handle what they're dealing with. Now you've gotten to a place where how they're bleeding, it won't affect you. It won't cut you. Like you could be effective and not infected with the same thing they're infected with. Some of you were looking for the Lord to, he's given it to me an analogy like you wanted to be released into a sick space where you were still vulnerable to catch whatever they have or had or what they're dealing with. But the Lord wanted to, you working with him, you trusting him, you doing this his way. Thank you, Holy Spirit. He was making you immune to what is infecting them, to what has them sick, to what has caused this for them. So therefore, if you think about someone who's immune to a disease or immune to a sickness, they could be around it and it will not infect them. They will not have the side effects. They will not have the sickness. That's where the Lord was trying to get you to be. Because again, had he released them sooner, had he opened communication sooner, had he restored it sooner than you were ready, if you weren't fully immune yet, if your spirit man wasn't built up, your heart wasn't built up, your own demons and your own battles and your own sickness, thank you, Holy Spirit, even your own wounds, y'all would be bleeding on each other. You would be bleeding on your husband, he would be bleeding on you. You would be bleeding on your wife, she would be bleeding on you. But the Lord being a good God, the Lord being a good father was like, not yet. I know you want it right now, but not yet. There are reasons why I'm withholding it. There are reasons why I won't open communication. There are reasons why I won't allow them to return home yet. So rather than getting angry with God and getting angry with what's required of you, understand there's something God is protecting you from. The enemy wants you to see it the wrong way. He wants you to see it. Thank you, Holy Spirit. The way the Lord prepares you for the promise, we're going to use marriage as an example. The way he's preparing you for that marriage restoration, he also has to prepare them for the restoration as well. Sometimes God will see that your process is done, but you can't have it yet because their process is not complete. You see what I'm saying? Because that promise is so valuable, so priceless, so expensive, so valuable to the kingdom, so valuable to the nations. Because it's so valuable, God may have gotten you ready sooner than it was ready for you, sooner than they were ready for you, sooner than they were ready for it. So sometimes God will get you ready And you're not just sitting there twiddling your thumbs or sitting on your hands like, okay, God, what's next? What's next? He will still be keeping you busy with your kingdom assignments, with your spiritual gifts, with your purpose. Thank you, Holy Spirit. Many of you should be knowing or should have some type of insight. What is your purpose? What were you created to do? What are your kingdom assignments? How is God using you while you wait? So you went through your process. You're ready. They're just not ready for you. They're not ready for it, or it is not ready for you. So while that's still going on behind the scenes, how are you, thank you, Holy Spirit, allowing God to use you now? Are you still so caught up in God? When are they coming home? Are you going to restore it? When are we going to be able to communicate? Why haven't they called? Why are they still with the counterfeit? Some of you, many of you, a lot of you have begun to fall back into idolatry. And this isn't even in what Holy Spirit gave me earlier. He's just giving it to me now. You have fallen back into idolatry. You are idolizing the promise. You're idolizing the restoration. You may not be idolizing the man or idolizing the woman, but you're idolizing even the idea of restoration. When are they coming home? When are they going to not be with the counterfeit? Thank you, Holy Spirit. Some of you are even idolizing their judgment. When are they going to be judged? When am I going to see your hand in that situation? When am I going to see them hurt the way I got hurt? Go through the things that I had to go through. You've even made that an idol. If that is you, take that back to God and repent. Ask him to help you see this properly. But have you given the Lord permission to use you now, even while you're waiting? Can you now understand why God was protecting you, why he kept it from you? Because he was protecting you from it from you. He was trying to make you immune to this sickness. He was making you immune to these battles, to this ailment. But if we keep pleading and petitioning, it's to the point where, like I said, it's almost as if you've made it an idol and you're not allowing God. He's reminding me of Haggai, I believe it's 1, where it talks about, you're building your house, your luxury home, while my house, the Lord's temple, the Lord's assignment, the Lord's purpose and plans for your life, while my house lies in ruins, you're so caught up and worried about your own house. It was me who blew it away. And sometimes the work that you're doing seems to be in vain. It's not producing fruit because you're doing it for all the wrong reasons. You're ready for them to come home. You're ready for God to open communication, but you can't respect the fact that it may not be ready for you, or they may not be ready for what God is trying to do yet. Just ask Holy Spirit to help you see this with a fresh set of eyes. Lord, I thank you that you didn't answer my prayers when I wanted you to. I thank you that you didn't do this sooner than I had begged and pleaded you to. Because some of you, even some of you that I coached, the Lord answered your prayers because you petitioned him about it, because you stayed in his face about it. And then some of you, you're tasting that raw food. And I talked about this before. You're tasting, this cake don't taste like I thought it was going to taste. This soup doesn't taste like I thought it was going to taste, because it wasn't done yet. There are things that the Lord was trying to protect you from, and now you got a stomach ache. Now you feel like you're spiritually sick. Now a door has been opened, a portal has been opened, like you're dealing with their demons. You're like, God, why am I going through all of this? And I'm having these nightmares, and I feel like, I'm anxious and I'm angry. And now you're dealing with what they're dealing with because you just had to have the Lord bring them back, or the Lord open that door, or the Lord open communication. You just had to have it. And now that you got it, you're not satisfied with what you have because it was incomplete. Let the Lord complete the process that he has started. Lord, save me from myself. Help me to get out of my own way. Lord, if there's anything that I'm praying for or interceding for or asking of you, and you see fit that it's not time for me to have it, or that I'm not ready for it, or whatever reason that you want to withhold it, Lord, I give you permission. Block what I'm trying to make manifest if it's not your timing. Okay, that's going to be a part 2. Here we go, Holy Spirit. Y'all stay tuned.